Good morning. Welcome to my channel. Well, today is the day. The moment of truth has come, and I'm going to pull a card and see how the day is going to go, and I'm going to offer up a meditation. Meditation is much, much shorter than in the past days because I am very, I don't want to say nervous, but I'm very focused on what's going on with that. So let me move this a little bit and see if it'll work a little bit better. Okay, that's better. So I am going to pull a card and see what my guides have to tell me for today, what I need to pay mind to. Sunshine has been giving me some very good suggestions, and we've been kind of outlining test-taking skills, things like that. So for the everyday casual observer, I'm going to be offering up a few tips as far as test taking is concerned, and I think that it's going to help maybe if you have a test that you have to take, or you have some kind of thing where you have to contend with knowledge and stuff like that. So I'm going to see what the cards have to say to me today. Okay, so Nigel just said stop. And the card I got for today is the Seven of Pentacles. I'm trying to remember what the Seven of Pentacles signifies. So I don't really know, but this lady looks very concentrated. She has a very concentrated look on her face, which might coincide with my sense of concentration today. And then all the pentacles are in the tree, and there's a ladder leading up to the tree. So there is a pathway that she can take to get to these pentacles to collect them. She has a basket in her hand. So it seems as though that is the notion that she has, is to go and collect the pentacles from off the tree. And so that is kind of where I get what I get from the card. But as with this deck, this is the Gilded Tarot by Ciro Marchetti, and very beautiful images and nice imagery here. So I'm going to pull the book and I'm going to look it up right now and see what this card signifies. So okay, let's see. I have to see which direction this is. Okay, Pentacles. Okay, the Seven of Pentacles. A woman stands and takes a moment to assess her healthy crop before harvesting. She looks ahead to the future. The Seven Pentacles represent the financial gain she can now expect to receive from all her hard work and efforts, planning and nurturing her crop to this moment of fruition. The Seven of Pentacles shows that hard work and patience will be rewarded, and that working methodically towards accomplishment will bring success. You should receive good news concerning your financial position at this time, and all forms of financial applications and sale negotiations are well expected. Although this is a good card, it is important to still plan for the future. Once the harvest has been collected, it must be replenished for the next round. Okay, so this is a positive card for me for today. So this is very good. And it kind of, for me, it kind of coincides with the Magician that I got yesterday and the Sun that I got yesterday. So this is really quite good. This is quite a good thing. Let me pull one more and then I'll start the meditation. And I get the Sun again. So I think everything will be well. And let me just get started on meditation. This is shorter. It's about 5 pages as opposed to like 10 or 12 pages that I usually write. So yeah, it is much shorter. And I wrote, today's day number 12, and it's April 24th, 2025. I said, so today is the day. And Sunshine says, indeedy. But you've got this. Just breathe. If you have a question that you don't immediately know the answer to, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and trust that the answer will come to you. The good is not perfection. The goal is not perfection. The goal is to pass the test. If you happen to get a perfect score, then that will just be the cherry on top. And I said, I'm seeing a chocolate sundae with sprinkles and a hand putting a cherry on top. Is this a vision? Sunshine says, could be. You have the knowledge. You just need to trust yourself. Perhaps this is your true message in all of this. Trust yourself. Yesterday you spoke with HW, who gave you the message that it is okay to not be perfect. You do not have to be a perfect quizmaster. Just be a perfect Yvette. Answer the questions that come to you and embrace the notion that all will be as it should be. I said, I believe you, and everyone is telling me that I've got this. Why is it that I am hesitant about following this set of ideology? I just won't believe it until I see it. Sunshine says, when you finish taking the test, you will know with certainty if you have the correct answers or not. You will have that sense. You know that you had passed the B1 when you were done. The same can be said with this. You will recognize it. But even that, with that said, make sure you read the questions very carefully. There will be questions that, like, who is not part of the government or what is not an example of such and such. Make sure that when you are reading the questions, you take note of every single word in the question. It could make a difference between a right and wrong answer. I said, I've seen this, a lot of tests. It's sort of a way to confuse the entire thing. And Sunshine says, yes, and once you have ended a question, let it go. One mistake that can happen is to stew about a question or consume or answer it to such a degree that you lose track of the next question. For the questions you may not know the answers to, use the process of elimination and try to assert that the answer that looks the most familiar. When you wrote down the answers only, you made a template for what is the most familiar to you. That is a tip for anyone who has to take a test. It is not just for this one, but it's the key to mastering any multiple choice test. I said, okay, so tip 1, writing down the questions along with the correct answer on a multiple choice test. And Sunshine says, yes, and only reading the correct answer. Then when you take the test, you will simply and unconsciously look for that correct answer. I said, okay, tip 2, pay attention to the words in the question. Do not overlook the word not in a question. Sunshine says, exactly. Generally, in every test a person might take, there is at least one question that will have the word not in it. Also, with regards to the correct answers, sometimes people make the mistake of focusing on the wrong answers. Do not focus any energy on the wrong answers when preparing for the test. When you see something new while taking the test, you will know that that answer is wrong. This is why you have prepared for this effectively. I said, okay, what other tips do you have for me? Sunshine says, breathe, breathe, and oh yes, breathe. The act of breathing can give you a sense of ease when taking any test. I said, I just had the feel of the movie IQ go through my head, where the young man was taking this multiple choice test where he did not know any answers, and the girl's uncle, who happened to be Albert Einstein, and his 3 friends were inadvertently giving him the answers. It was hilarious. Sunshine says, yes, it is a calming sense. And Albert Einstein comes in and says, we will not be in your testing room. And I said, oh, I know, but it was funny. Did you have friends like that, Professor? Albert Einstein says, indeed I did, but that funny movie was not real. I said, I know, but it was a fun movie to watch. Some older people do have an amazing sense of humor. And he says, very amusing. I said, do you have any tips for test taking that I can use, or better said, for anyone who is getting ready to take an exam? And he says, do not go in assuming you know it all. Go in with the knowledge that you have prepared sufficiently for it. Do not go in fearful or intimidated about it, for it is just a piece of paper. But go in with respect for what you are about to undertake. You have prepared well, and your earlier knowledge will help you. But never assume that because you pulled cards or that you spoke to someone that you will perform a perfect score. Pleasant surprises are nice. I said, yes, thank you for the help, Professor. I will do my best. And Sunshine says, all is well, Yvette. Good luck to you. I don't think you'll need it, but I do believe that you will achieve success. Just remember, you did prepare for it. And by not over-preparing, I believe that you will go into the situation with a very leveled perspective. And I said, thank you. And Sunshine says, we will end with that. All will be well. And I said, and so it is. And Sunshine says, and so it is. And that's where we ended. So, yeah, again, I'm feeling pretty optimistic about it with these. But I also understand that what Albert Einstein said was, do not put emphasis on these. Put the emphasis on the knowledge that I have with regards to the questions that will come. So that was kind of interesting, but it was also kind of a good thing to do. And it goes to show that tarot and dowsing rods and pendulums and all these things are tools that people use. They are not an end-all be-all for every single question in the universe. They give you an idea. They test the energy of what might happen in a situation, but they are not the end-all be-all. Sometimes you just have to go through life and experience these things before you recognize that it is what it is. So I am about to go and embark on this next step, and I'm a little nervous, but I'm also kind of anxious about it. I mean, well, not anxious, but expectant. Like I know the material. I've studied the material. I've written all the questions down with the correct answers. So all I have to do is go in there and look for the correct answers out of the 4 choices that I have. So I have to get 50% of the question. There'll be 33 questions in the test, and I have to answer 17 of them correctly. So that's half. So 50% is a very low bar in that sense. It's not a high bar. When I took the ham radio exam, I had to score 75% with 50 questions, and there were the question catalog had over 1,200 questions, meaning I had to learn 1,200 questions so that I could go in and halfway decently answer the questions on the test that I was taking. And this was 5 years ago. When I took the B1 test, there were a possible 300 points that you could get. And some of the stuff was having to just write a letter or something in German. And some of it was listening, speaking, and reading. And I had to go through and I had to infer, not just through a multiple choice, because there wasn't really a multiple choice in that sense. You didn't have four answers that you had to pick the right answer out of. You had to, it was, in that sense, it was harder than just a multiple choice test, because you had to write and you had to, understand and hear something and say whether it was true or false. And here you have 4 possible answers. One is correct, the rest are baloney, and you have to pick it out. So I think that in this sense, I think that this is probably, of the 3 tests that I've taken in the last 5 years, this is probably going to be the easiest one in that sense, because it's only 33 questions, and the catalog had 300 questions. So the likelihood of getting a specific question is a little, the likelihood of getting a specific question is going to be a little bit higher than say 1,200 questions, where the possibility of getting that specific question is going to be much lower. So this is what I'm going up against, and this is what will happen. So why am I nervous about this? I have no idea, but I think it's always been that way with tests. I've never been I've prepared myself, but I've never been the best test taker. So with this, we'll see what happens. But that is where I'm at. But I can take a little bit of comfort in this. Just a little bit, tiny bit. But I think that it's going to be okay. And tomorrow I will probably know. I may not know specifically on paper if I've passed or failed, but I think I'll have a good idea if I did. So that'll be tomorrow. So I wish you a wonderful day. And if you are embarking on any endeavors, much success to you. Hopefully, you can take some of the information from today's meditation to help you if you are getting ready to take an exam, or if you're getting ready to take a step in a direction that is unfamiliar to you. There are tips and there are ideas and stuff. So if it works for you, I hope it does, and I hope that you find the success that you are seeking. And I wish you a wonderful day. And as always, namaste.